What is going on, everybody? So this week I've been playing a good number of games on the ROG Ally exclusively, and I figured why not make a list of the games that play best on ROG Ally, specifically with either silent, performance, or turbo mode. And with these specific titles, they are no doubt some of the most optimal games to pick up on your ROG Ally. And no matter what order these games are in, I think they're all equally as fun and smooth to play as the next one, or the game that came before it. So the first game on the list, and I've been playing this game a great deal, that is Titanfall 2. Originally, I played this game a whole bunch on the Steam Deck, and it plays wonderfully on that system as well. And on the ROG Ally, this game pretty much plays perfect. It can go over 60 FPS at 1080p in performance or turbo mode. I usually leave it on performance mode, but if you have no other option, you can just set your Ally to silent mode and get 60 FPS or over at 720p. Or you can experience some dips with silent mode. And if you want your games to play the best and most optimally with all of these games on the list, make sure to set your VRAM to 4 gigabytes or auto, because if you set it too high, it's going to take too much power and require even more energy out of the ROG Ally in order to perform as it was intended. Now the next game on the list, and I've been playing it a whole bunch this week because the new Separate Ways DLC came out, is Resident Evil 4 Remake. This is the title I bought the ROG Ally for, and without a doubt it is one of the best games to play on the system. At 1080p, you'll get a solid 60 FPS if you turn on FSR 2.0 in performance mode. On silent mode, you'll be able to get a solid 40 to 60 FPS at 720p or low settings at 1080p. But I usually find the best way to play is at 720p turbo mode. This game actually performs at a frame rate higher than 60 FPS. Sometimes it goes to the 80s. So I actually find this to be one of the best games to play on turbo mode in 720p. In 1080p, go in turbo mode, you'll just get a solid 60 for the most part. This is one of the newer titles that came out this year, so it will be difficult to find the best way to play this title at 1080p and above 60 FPS. But if you can get Resident Evil 4 Remake to get to higher frames than 60, let me know. A game I've been playing online and offline, respectively, and number 3 on the list is Gears of War 5. I remember playing Gears of War 1 on the original Xbox 360, and I kind of skipped part 4. I only played half of it on a friend's Xbox One. But with Gears of War 5 on the ROG Ally, it plays as if it's made for the system. It runs at 1080p 60 FPS in almost every single location. Unless you put the graphics to ultra, you're not going to see a dip, especially in turbo mode. But for the most part, I play in performance mode. I get a solid battery life and 60 FPS with settings set to medium to high. So you'll be able to continue the adventure of Marcus Phoenix on the go on your ROG Ally. And I find just the timing, execution, and smoothness of the gameplay and combat in Gears of War 5 on the ROG Ally to be exceptional, and I played longer on this system than I did on the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck just didn't provide as much performance as I truly wanted, especially for a game like Gears of War 5. The battery didn't last as long, and the performance just wasn't optimal enough for me to play for more than an hour. Usually there would be a lot of frame dips on the Steam Deck. But playing a modern title in 720p is just not good enough. So playing my games like Gears of War 5 at 1080p 60 FPS is a dream come true, especially for on-the-go gaming. I've always wanted this kind of device since I was a little kid, playing true to appearance AAA titles on the go. Now the fourth game that really shines on the ROG Ally has got to be one that I just recently finished, which is The Quarry. This game has mystery, monsters, and extremely realistic graphics, to the point I don't even know how the ROG Ally can handle it. I used one of those SD cards that crapped out on a lot of people with this game specifically, and no SD card problems on my side. The game played at mostly 60 FPS at 1080p in performance and turbo mode. It's just an exceptional experience, and all of the other Dark Pictures games from the same developer play wonderfully on the ROG Ally. I've tried every single one of them. Number 5 on the list is Red Dead Redemption 2. This is a game I had too much trouble with on my Steam Deck. It crashed every 10 to 30 minutes. You can only play it at 720p, and Red Dead Redemption 2 has a ton of detail. So playing this at anything lower than 1080p is a loss. I play this game docked most of the time at 1080p 60 FPS turbo mode. But on the go, I can play in performance, medium settings, 1080p, and for the most part, you get around 40 FPS and decent battery life. But yes, Red Dead Redemption 2 is incredible on the ROG Ally. I can't recommend this game enough. I was having slight issues at the beginning, but that's mostly because I had to set my VRAM to either 4 or higher. I had it set to auto and it just wasn't playing that well. So I do recommend setting your video RAM to 4 gigabytes. Now, number 6, you may say it's all for the sake of the thumbnail, and it kind of is. That would have to be Starfield. I played this game day one for about 10 hours on the ROG Ally. I tried to play on Steam Deck, but it just wasn't doing that well. And I know there are fixes for the Steam Deck, but there are just too many fixes for not enough performance and resolution. With Starfield on the ROG Ally, I'm able to get a decent 40 to 60 FPS at 1080p. In performance mode, I usually set the quality to a mix of medium and high, and I was able to get a decent amount of FPS with it. But going in turbo mode is where this game really shines on the ROG Ally. If you play plugged in or with a power bank, then you're going to want to play in turbo mode, specifically to play Starfield. It's the newest, biggest title that just came out a few weeks ago, and it plays wonderfully on the handheld. Now, I don't know why I made this next game number 7, but it's the game I go to all the time if I just want to have a good time and forget about everything else, and that is Marvel's Spider-Man. I play all the time at 1080p, 60 FPS, for the most part, with FSR 2.0 enabled. And Marvel's Spider-Man plays incredibly well on this handheld, and it looks so good. Usually I turn FSR off and I just put it to turbo mode, especially when I'm playing this game docked. If you connect this game to a television and a power supply that's capable of giving your ROG Ally 30 watts, you can just turn off FSR 2.0. You don't need it. And specifically setting the virtual RAM to 4 gigabytes is the best course of action here, especially with this specific title. And that is to get the best FPS with the highest resolution that you possibly can, specifically on the go. Now, number 8 is a game I never thought I would be playing because I was a Harry Potter fan a little while back, but I kind of fell off with it, especially with the new Fantastic Beasts series. I don't really like it that much, but with Hogwarts Legacy on the ROG Ally, I have zero complaints. It plays absolutely perfect. Maybe there are 2 crashes every 5 hours, but that's PC gaming for you. I tried playing this game on the Steam Deck and there were crashes, stutters, and all that. I just couldn't play at 1080p on the Steam Deck. But with the ROG Ally, you have the opportunity to play at 1080p, around 40 to 60 FPS in performance mode, and in turbo mode, the game pretty much does a solid 60 FPS, no problem. But make sure to just put the settings to a mix of medium to high to get that visual flair that you deserve while playing this title. But yeah, Hogwarts Legacy is definitely a 10 out of 10 in my book, especially while you're playing on the ROG Ally. Now, number 9 should have been number 1, but like I said, we're not ranking these, only listing them off to, I guess, relevance sake. And number 9 is The Last of Us Part 1. This game on the ROG Ally is everything I wanted it to be on the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck's version and capability with this game can be comparable to a Nintendo Switch, while with the ROG Ally, you're playing on, say, a PS4 or even sometimes a PS4 Pro, depending what you put the graphics to. And the fact that you can compare any handheld to the PS4 is a win to me. And The Last of Us Part 1 fully shows off what a win is capable of. And the experience you get on the ROG Ally is undoubtedly the best way to play The Last of Us Part 1 on the go right now. Sure, you can get better battery life on the Legion Go if you want, but with the size of the ROG Ally and VRR, playing The Last of Us Part 1 specifically on your Ally is one of the smoothest experiences you will have, and that's available today. Now, the last game was a tie between 3 others, but I eventually had to pick it because on the Nintendo Switch, playing The Witcher 3 was abysmal. It was the worst experience I've had with a handheld game in a long time. But the fact that you can play all of that in one cartridge and you had all of that freedom to play the entire Witcher 3 game with all of its add-ons on the go was something I couldn't pass up. But playing on the Steam Deck was a little step up from that because you can put the resolution a little higher. But for the most part, the game was a little laggy on the Steam Deck. And then when it got that next generation upgrade, it pretty much made the game unplayable for me. I had to tweak the settings every time I went into it. But eventually, I played on the ROG Ally, and putting the game in turbo or even performance mode set the FPS to 60 and above, while the graphics were untouched at default and the resolution was set to 1080p. Playing The Witcher on the ROG Ally gives me ADHD because I can't stop myself but to look at all of the incredible visuals with this game on the Ally specifically. Playing at 1080p alone is incredible, but having the graphics to ultra or high is something else entirely. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on the ROG Ally is a must. Because the resolution is 1080p, all of the texts and letters and small details you wouldn't recognize if you had a lower resolution are very prominent while playing on the ROG Ally's perfect screen. But for the most part, I had an amazing time with all of these games equally, and definitely more recently Resident Evil 4 Remake. Playing that with perfect graphics and pretty much perfect FPS really set the bar high for handheld PCs like the ROG Ally, Steam Deck, and the upcoming Legion Go. I can't wait to see the future of handheld games and handheld PCs in general, and more so, I really can't wait for what's coming next for ASUS and handheld gaming. But yeah, if you have any games to add to the list, let me know in the comments below. And I've had a wonderful time playing most, if not all of these titles, and so much more that I have on the list. But with all these games, you do not have to worry. I accumulated this list while playing for the entire time I had my ROG Ally, so this is a very simple list, but it's a list I have been building up for months. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.